Courtney, how did you know, man? Just in time for the commercial break. I'm impressed. All that and more, September the 30th, right? At the Astoria. You've got to be there. Thank you very much, Courtney Pine. People are born cool, right? Courtney Pine. No. Born cool. OK, all right, some people become cool, Courtney Pine, right?
No.
Other people, on the other hand, just haven't got a chance, right? However, you're left with me to do a piece on the Soho Jazz Festival, which starts on the 29th of September, runs through till the 9th of October, deep in the heart of London's West End. Jazz going crazy, really, for a couple of weeks. I'm joined here, apart from by Courtney Pine.
Courtney Kine.
Courtney Kine, by Peter Boizot. Oi, bit of quiet in the 1 and 9s, please. We're trying to impart information here. Peter Boizot, who's responsible for organising the festival, I think I'm right in saying?
You could say that, yes.
Rather than me rabbit on...
With some help from my friends.
Well, a little help from your friends. What's happening? What's happening during the Jazz Festival?
Well, it's going on all over Soho. I mean, Soho is such a wonderful area for jazz. I mean, so much of jazz really started in Soho, and we've got this nucleus of jazz clubs, you know, 100 Club, Ronnie Scott's, the Wag, the Marquee, the famous Marquee, the Pizza Express, the Astoria. There's always jazz going on in Soho. And 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, decided that it would be a good idea to have an expansion of those jazz clubs and have the restaurants, the cafes, the pubs, the streets of Soho, sort of just flowering with music coming out all over.
Touching New Orleans, really.
Touching New Orleans.
Touching New Orleans.
So accordingly, we've got people marching up and down Carnaby Street and
they do that anyway.
They do that, but not always blowing jazz music.
True.
And in Leicester Square, and we've brought over a super band from New York, George Wein and his Newport All Stars. You know, they're the people that played in the, or George helped to get the first Newport Festival going, from which Jazz on a Summer's Day came. We've got a super artist who I'm sure you've just seen recently on the television, Harold Nicholas, one of the Nicholas brothers, who's going to be
great dancers.
One of the great dancers. You know, remember he danced up the wall. He's going to be dancing at the Empire Leicester Square on the Monday night.
And another highlight is a chance to see, perhaps for the first time, well, first or second time anywhere, the photographs of Herman Leonard, who's with us here.
Absolutely. In one of London's finest Lambeth brick churches in Soho Square. Right. Not a very well-known church, but a beautiful church.
Herman, amazing photographs. I mean, I suppose kind of, it's a bit like Night Network, really. It's not just kind of music, it's a look, it's a way of life. And I mean, I suppose the photos, your photos, which we're going to see a few of now, I hope, while we're talking, really, I guess, capture, I mean, there's one of Dexter Gordon, for example, just kind of capture the feeling of jazz, I suppose, better than anybody else's pictures ever have done.
Well, I don't know about anybody else's, but...
Well, I can say that. You can't say that.
You can say that. Well, it's very nice. I was just lucky enough to be there at the right time.
When you say the right time, when are we talking about? When
we're
did these photos come from?
Between, like, 1947 on through till about 1960, really. That's the period that these photographs cover. But I started shooting this stuff in '41 at one of Norman Grantz's Jazz at the Philharmonic presentations, one of the first ones he did.
Now, was your idea, were you a kind of big jazz fan, and was your idea
just I was always a jazz fan.
Right.
I was always, even as a kid, I used to listen to a lot of Nat King Cole Trio stuff, things. I got weaned on that. Right. And Louis Jordan, and all of the, kind of the happy music, you know, and I really enjoyed that a lot. So I would hang out at the clubs, but I never had an opportunity to take any pictures until after I got out of the Army and back into business in New York. And I made friends with some of the club owners there. And I went down and I started to take some pictures, and they let me bring my own lighting in and all of that, because if I would photograph it just with a normal light, it would be flat and dull, and very often I couldn't get any pictures anyway because the light was so low. And the film was so slow. Right. So we had to trick it up a little bit. But everything kind of went very smoothly.
Right, and you talk the club owners. I mean, are we really looking here at 13 years of concentrated ligging? I mean, you kind of... is that really what we're talking about here?
Well, 13 years of night work, man. Night work.
I know, I'm sure it was hard.
No, it wasn't hard. It was easy. It was amazingly easy. I mean, now it would be hard. But in those days, it was just great. I mean, you go in and you sit down in front of musicians like Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie and all these guys, and Courtney Pine, who unfortunately wasn't probably born at the time,
No.
but I wish he was.
But he was already thinking about jazz. I have it on
I'm
good,
sure he
good
was, yeah,
authority.
it's in the blood.
Yeah. Courtney, you're taking part in the festival this year.
Yeah.
What are you up to, man?
We're going to playing on the 30th at the Astoria, and just playing a set of music, jazz music.
Right, is that you with a smaller band, or is that with the big band sound?
It's going to be probably a 7-piece band. I've released a record called Traditions Beckoning, which is a 4-track EP which features Juliet Roberts from Working Week,
yeah.
and I suppose I'll be promoting that.
How does it, sorry, it's a bit of a kind of personal question, this, I know, and you probably get asked it before, but I'm just wanting to know. You know, there's been a lot of kind of, you know, Courtney Pine is the future, all that. How's that all feel, man?
Well, you can't, as a jazz musician, you can't take that seriously, because the good thing about playing this music is that it's the music that comes first. So no matter what anybody else says about you, if you don't practice, other musicians, Steve Williamson, Philip Bent, Cleveland Watkins, will come up and make you look silly.
Yeah, right.
So you've got to keep practicing.
Now, Herman Leonard, I guess, has captured in those photos kind of jazz of the 40s, 50s and 60s. Where do you see jazz going in the next kind of 10, 20 years? Because it really has. The last 5, 6 years, I suppose, have been, you know, have been a real renaissance for British jazz. Where do you see it going from here?
Well, it's difficult to say, because if I could say that, I'd be a millionaire, you know, because I could be able to foretell the future. But
yeah, you've probably got as you're probably in a pretty good position to have a guess, though.
I don't know. I guess, but it'll probably be wrong. But there's a lot of musicians now who are kind of reaffirming the tradition of jazz.
Yeah.
Listening to a lot of past masters, Dexter Gordon, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, Wayne Shorter, and shedding and getting their stuff together. And once they've established their own sound, these musicians will do something new. Whether it'll be tomorrow or 2 weeks' time, I don't know.
We'll wait and see, or 2 years, whatever. Anyway, a lot going on in the Soho Jazz Week. Courtney, I mean, I have to apologise to everybody for 8 minutes talk when we got Courtney Pine. Play, man. Just go and play, please.
You sure about
Please play. Yes. Don't forget, here's a poster to help remind you. The Soho Jazz Festival, 29th of September to the 9th of October, deep in the heart of London. Be there. Courtney Pine.